Following the qualifying race, Enzo Medina, driver of the number 5 Corsa, was taken to the hospital, and that was confirmed that he had a enlarged heart, which basically means that he will be out of the number 5 Corsa for the rest of the year, if not permanently. And that's very disappointing news for him, obviously. Medina drove quite well at Japan, but he hasn't driven very well since. And we'll have to see what Squadra Corsa intends to do about a replacement driver for car number 5. Dan, off to you. Thank you, Lance. Qualifying brought a pleasant surprise when Palmer Styles placed his own car on the pole. The Renac Omega MA01 failed to qualify for Japan, and Palmer has always run very well here at Carbondale. He won here 2 years ago, and I believe was second last year. He gets a pretty good start over Zach Duff, and there you see is the 11 car of Ethan Everett, who was very strong in most of the practice sessions. Palmer in the 21 car, though, had the best car all weekend. He qualified quite handily, and he was giving his car and his team a great showing early on. This is Jim Kidd in car number 18, making his first start of the season. We're not sure if he's going to be at the Round of Texas next week. We'll have to see about that. But Jim Kidd giving the 4th Power Steering Incorporated car a great showing so far. This is his first start, and he won the qualifying race. So, Jim Kidd on a very good showing of form in his very short career so far. Here's Arla champion Chris Johans, who qualified way in the back of the field. He's going to have no reservations in roughing up Azuma Kazuyama here. Johans was pretty fast throughout all the practice sessions, and people said that if you're going to win, you're going to want to watch out for the 24 car. There you see another guy you're going to want to watch out for. Craig Janser in the black 69 car. His new sponsor Scarabs, or rather his sponsor Scarabs, new colors on that car. Caution 1 flew on lap 5 of the race. Marcus Leonard in car 999 is going to get carried into the wall here by Alan Hodges after Hodges and Leonard are roughing it up a little bit early. And Kurt Pliskin, his Power Steering Incorporated teammates, going to get a little stop there on the wall. However, there was more to this incident. Craig Janser in the 69 is going to give his new sponsor's mascot a little bit of a taste of the back of Leon Kennison's car, and Azuma Kazuyama goes on the wall. Wow! So you see Marcus Leonard running into the back of Janser. This has already gotten insane, and we're 5 laps in. So, Craig Janser, a little messed up there with the Shibunga colors. Now, here is Azuma Kazuyama making his way to the pits, and Leon Kennison runs into him and takes him into the wall, and that's going to put car 839 out of the race. This is all we've already had. A big incident 5 laps in. The officials weren't too pleased with that. You see Ethan Everett take the lead on the restart and then get a great jump as Janser's slow car begins to hold up the rest of the field. Janser's car has gotten so much damage on it. That was a big surprise at the bottom. Janser's car's got so much damage that now he's just moving all over the place. It's not handling very well, and he's holding up the rest of the field. Ethan Everett's liking this, though. Stephanie McGlynn is running in second. The Irish driver has not had a very good start to 2010. It's been more like her 2007 and 2008 campaigns when Stephanie McGlynn was the queen of crash. Adrian Devereaux having a very strong showing in this 26 car, but also having a good showing is Dale Roswell in the 17, who always goes well at the short tracks. Dale Roswell at 63 is the oldest full-time driver on the Master Cup Series circuit ever. Roswell still showing that he can run with the new generation. Roswell was the champion in 1989. Tony Durbin in car number 33 is another driver who we've begun to see perform very well at short tracks. Durbin's upped his game at just about every form of track. However, he seems to have lost that seeming advantage he had on the intermediate ovals. Then again, the only intermediate oval we've been to this year is Japan. Tom Delgado having a strong showing early on in the race in car 837. Delgado is one of those drivers you look for when there's a high attrition. He seems to be there right around at the end of the race to pick up table scraps, and he's giving the 837 car a legitimately good run. Damian Snyder is driving car number 19. This is one of the Camelot Racing Tremwells. Gary Edwards failed to qualify for this race, and the team's decision to replace Edwards with Snyder, or rather Snyder with Edwards, in their full-time driving lineup may not have been the best decision because Damian Snyder is running in the top 15. Todd Wreckage is back with Team Thunder. This is the same team that ran a joint operation with Flair Motorsports in 2007, resulting in one of the ugliest Master Cup Series cars ever. However, they're now their own operation. Todd Wreckage qualified their car. They're making a run for the Independence Trophy. Todd Wreckage was roughing up Ethan Everett in practice a little bit, and the officials warned those two drivers to stay away from each other. We'll see how well that goes. Wreckage is running very strongly, though. He ran very well here last year and was leading most of the race. Marcus Leonard's day is going to go from bad to worse, and from worse to terrible when the engine grenades. And he holds up Arto Käkkinen in the process unintentionally. So Marcus Leonard, who had a absolutely fantastic start to the 2010 season, is going to get knocked down a few pegs after this race, because this is not a good showing from him or his luck. Ethan Everett is enjoying a very nice lead here in car number 11, but he's going to have to pit for green flag pit stops on lap number 39. However, he is going to regret that decision immensely. Drew Eisenman and Stephanie McGlynn are going to make their pit stops at the same time. McGlynn commits a bit late. Drew Eisenman runs McGlynn wide. McGlynn runs into the tire wall. Eisenman gives McGlynn absolutely no room to enter the pits and just runs the 37 car straight into the tire wall. This isn't the first pit lane incident Eisenman has had with an Ocean Motorsports car. Greg Munson, Ocean SDS Team Motor, complained to the officials about Drew Eisenman's driving. Zach Duff in car 28 led on the restart. There's only 14 cars on the lead lap at this point due to an incident happening during green flag pit stops. There you see Adrian Devereaux getting extremely impatient with Craig Janser in the 69. Lewis Kingston and Matt Taylor getting shuffled around a little bit. That car, 2 cars in front of Zach Duff, is Matthias Taub in car number 38. Taub is the same driver who qualified on the pole for the Carriala Grand Prix last year in a car prepared by himself and a few of his friends. Taub is a former German touring car driver. Now he is running at the TM Master Cup Series level, and he is impressing mightily. Stan Rosenstrader drove this car for the first 3 races. However, Rosie failed to qualify for 2 races, and the only race he did qualify for, Australia, he wasn't very fast. So the team decided to replace Rosenstrader with Taub, and we believe Rosenstrader will move over and take Matthias Taub's TM Junior Series ride. Greg Janser in car number 69 is going to get in Ethan Everett's way a little bit. Everett is going to shoot Janser and Ian Cooper, and Janser hits the pit lane. However, that's not going to be the only incident that happens. 2008 TM Master Cup Series champion Alexis Rainsford is going to stick her nose in here. Tom Delgado is going to come in and is going to take Rainsford and Delgado hard into the inside wall. This is going to destroy the suspension on Delgado's Nemoto, taking him out of the race. And Alexis Rainsford would develop a problem with the Volpe, and both those cars would go out of the race. Matt Taylor's car blew up under the yellow flag. This has been a horrible day for Matt Taylor. Even though he's running 16th, he is a lap off the pace, and he's not shown much speed. There's no point talking about the restart, because guess what? There was a yellow right afterwards. This would involve the 4-time TM Master Cup Series Drivers' Champion, Leonid Roderick, in car number 4, who makes an odd mistake, tries to pit right after the restart, runs into the side of Stuart Sandoval, spins himself out in front of Jacques Bouvier. Here comes Danny Salva, and Matthias Taub, and Roderick rolls the car. Oops. However, there is a happier side to this story, because once they got it over, Roderick's car was still running. Yay, American Steel! This would just show the durability of a Master Cup Series car. Wow. And back up front, Zach Duff was still leading, but Chris Johans, who went a lap down during those pit stops, would end up having a run at trying to get his lap back, along with David Krikorian in the 9. See Kurt Pliskin running second, Damian Snyder in third. Looks like Johans is going to clear Zach Duff, and now he's hoping for a quick yellow. And knowing the field as they are right now, that is not impossible. We did have a quick incident, though, but for whatever reason, it didn't bring out a yellow as Yumino Tenchi hits the wall, and Ian Cooper's got nowhere to go. That's kind of emblematic of the year of both Tenchi and Ian Cooper. Random things that should probably have brought a yellow out, but don't. Tenchi's had some very strong runs so far, but appears that she just got a little too aggressive on those restarts. Chris Johans in car number 24 is going to be pulling away a little bit from Duff. However, Duff is going to quickly reel him in. And at this point, Chris Johans has got to be yelling over his spotter that there's debris in some turn or some such, because he needs a yellow flag in order to get back on the lead lap and give himself a chance of winning this race. Because this is a 125 lap race, and we're a little past halfway, so Johans doesn't have a whole lot of time to start sifting his way through the field. If he's got to go, it's now. Fortunately, on lap 77, he got his wish, a yellow flag. Todd Wodarczyk and Ethan Everett would be going at it again. Ethan Everett bumped Todd Wodarczyk into this mess, kind of pushed him up there, and then Stuart Sandoval came over and pushed the 07 into the wall. A little contact between the 11 and 07 cars preceded this mess, and that's probably what caused Todd Wodarczyk to kind of hurry himself up into this mess. Kurt Pliskin in car 16 is leading the race. Jim Kidd is a lap down on the inside. Jim Kidd kind of doesn't make life very difficult for his teammate, and Pliskin goes off not quite into the distance because Kidd's going to get some very good runs out the corner, but Jim Kidd slots right in between Kurt Pliskin and Tony Durbin. What a teammate! Tony Durbin dives into the pits for some reason or another, and Jacques Bouvier moves into second. This little act of teamwork was downplayed by a yellow right after the restart. Leonid Roderick in car number 4 is going to be holding up Scott Stoidler in the 23. This is right after the restart, and that's where this incident starts. However, Roderick and Stoidler are fighting for position, so Roderick has every right to defend his spot. Scott Stoidler, though, is going to get a little impatient with Roderick, turns him around, and Arto Kekkonen turns Stoidler around, and a bunch of other cars come piling into this mess. Ethan Everett got a piece, Stuart Sandoval, Damian Snyder, Franz Redlich, and Scott Bates, but nobody dropped out of the race. Here we have the aerial view. There's Stoidler and Roderick. Roderick's trying to hang on to position there. This car slides up the track a little bit. Stoidler turns into Roderick, and Arto Kekkonen turns the 23. Ethan Everett gets in there. And then, of course, this involved a bunch of other cars that probably shouldn't have been involved in this mess. But then again, that's just what's called hard racing, I suppose. On the restart, Zach Duff had the lead over Danny Savin. Those are two drivers whose 2010 campaigns have been nothing short of a complete catastrophe. There's Yulia Nasova making a move on Yumino Tenchi. That's kind of a surprise to see the Katsev cars both running because Nasova reported under the yellow that she dropped a cylinder. There's Savin dropping through the field, and the last thing Zach Duff needs to see is a yellow. It's not his lucky day, unfortunately. Calamity Brothers of Everett and Wodarczyk are going to get together for the final time as Everett's going to get turned into the wall by Wodarczyk after making contact with Matthias Taub. The officials are very quick to bring that banner up. However, I don't think this one was an intentional dump on the part of Wodarczyk. Okay, it may have been that Wodarczyk just decided not to lift and put the 11 car in the wall, but that one looked to be a bit of a racing incident. However, the 11 team didn't exactly feel the same way. Tony Durbin in car 33 and Leon Keniston in car 39 are going to discover their feelings for each other. Well, I wouldn't exactly call that brotherly love. Durbin and Keniston have been going at it just a little bit, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. I would expect that one to get settled before long. Drew Eisenman led on the restart along with Damian Snyder in second, and Chris Johans has moved his way up to third. Danny Savin in the 91 sits in fourth, and Jacques Bouvier, last year's TM Lights champion, sits in fifth. Drew Eisenman's been running into a bunch of people this day and making some people a little unhappy. However, he dives into the pits for some odd reason right after the restart. However, he got a front row seat at the next yellow on lap 95. This would be probably the most bizarre incident I've ever seen here. A big stack up at the front of the field causes a big stack up. Tony Durbin goes over, he snags something on Alan Hodges' car, and Durbin and Hodges do some vehicular gymnastics. That was pretty impressive. And what's more, Durbin drives it away and keeps going. How about that? There's Durbin, gets hit by Hodges. He goes for a bit of a roll. He hits part of Hodges' car, and for whatever reason, that pulls Hodges' car all the way over and onto the pit wall there. Matthias Taub and Lewis Kingston are going at it. Kingston takes himself into the pit wall. That's not how you're supposed to take revenge. However, that'll take the 38 out, and it'll also take out David Krikorian in the 9, who was just an innocent bystander. The officials weren't too happy about that little action between Kingston and Taub. Chris Johans led on the restart in the 24 car. Danny Savin in car 91, who hasn't won anything in quite a while, sits in second. Two drivers very hungry for a race win. The officials pulled a black flag on car 21 after they saw smoke at the back of the car. That turned out to be a very good call on their part because Palmer Styles said after he pulled his car in the pits that there was an oil leak and he had to retire from the race anyway. The final caution of the event was on lap 111. The 9th yellow would be caused by Craig Janser, who was 7 laps down, who was annoying the hell out of Damian Snyder, who was on the lead lap at this point. Craig Janser's been a bit of a moving chicane the rest of the day. He was fast early on, but after a while he decides he's tired of it, runs into the 19, but he takes himself into the wall and out of the race. The officials called him and his crew chief to the hauler, as you saw in the little graphic there. At this point, there's only 4 cars in the lead lap. Chris Johans, Zach Duff, Kurt Pliskin, and Jacques Bouvier. Only 4 cars left on the lead lap. Danny Savin went off the lead lap as a result of a bad pit stop. Jim Kidd in the 18 is going to try his best to get the 24 on the high side and give Kurt Pliskin a clean run at the lead. Jim Kidd's been making a bit of a reputation of himself as a real team player today. Might be irritating some people, but, well, I guess that's kind of how you have to do some things sometimes. However, Kidd is not going to have enough time to make a run on him, and Chris Johans is finally going to take his first TM Master Cup Series victory, which has been at least a year overdue, finally breaking a streak of horrendous luck in the TM Master Cup Series. The former Arla champion joins a very small list of Nathan Wilson, Floyd Moss, Kurt Walker, as the only drivers to win a race, both in the TM Master Cup Series and the American Racing League of America. Kurt Pliskin winds up second, Zach Duff in third, Jacques Bouvier fourth, and the rest of the top 10 was 1 lap down. It's kind of surprising to see Yulia Nasova and Woody Watts finish 7th and 9th in the 2 Cats of Engineering cars. Need I remind you that those 2 cars were both down a cylinder by the end of the race, suggesting that those 2 cars probably wouldn't have lasted much longer before their engines would have grenaded. Strong showings by Bouvier, who needed this race, along with Zach Duff and Danny Savin, 3 drivers that needed a good showing to bring their 2010 campaigns, well, on life support. And then Franz Redlich, whose 2010 has not gone that well. He had a good showing early on in the season, but he failed to qualify for Brazil, so he's very, very far down in the points table. Speaking of the points table, let's have a look at it. Tony Durbin sits 30 points up on his teammate Drew Eisenman. By the way, Tony Durbin actually managed to finish the race. The Sar Eagle didn't have any suspension problems, at least that they could find immediately after the race, although Durbin said he wouldn't be surprised if the suspension on the car was completely shot. Alexis Rainsford finished 3rd, Adrian Devereaux in 4th, Arto Kekkonen in 5th, and then you see a big gap between Arto Kekkonen and Alan Hodges currently in 6th, Stuart Sandoval in 7th, Yulia Nasova in 8th, Scott Bates in 9th, Chris Johans with his win. His maiden win jumps all the way up to the top 10 in points. Great job for the 2014. And here's 11 through 20. Yamino Tenchi is tied with Chris Johans, but of course the win put Johans on top of Tenchi. Woody Watts in 12th. 13th is 4-time champion Leonid Roderick. Slow start to the season for Roderick. Scott Stoidler, Zelda Ashby, Marcus Leonard with his engine failures and whatnot drops all the way down to 16th. Matt Taylor 17th. Kurt Pliskin jumps up to 18th. That's all 3 Power Steering Incorporated full-time cars running 15th, 16th, and 18th, suggesting that the JD Predator might actually be one of the better cars on the track. Jacques Bouvier in 19th, and then Leon Keniston leads the STS Brigade. Yes, leads the STS Brigade in 20th. And now let's have a look at the Independence Trophy standings. Cyrus Leters is still on top of this points table with Craig Janser in second. Both those guys have 2 races to their name. Thomas Duke, Palmer Styles, Colin Evans, and Dan Klezel all have 1. However, Colin Evans and Palmer Styles failed to qualify for 1 race. And of course, Leigh Gruel, Justin Brooks, and Allie Riggs are all sitting on 0.